and gentlemen, and welcome to this press conference. It is no longer news that the NSAS protest last month degenerated into mindless violence after it was heightened and in the aftermath of the protest, however, there are lingering issues in this press conference to address in a very holistic manner all the issues. Before we delve into those issues, let's look at the demands of the NSAS protesters. Whose campaign was aimed at ending youth brutality and disbanding the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SAS, and also the response of the federal government. The 5 demands of the NSAS movement were as follows. 1. Immediate release of all arrested protesters. Justice for all the victims of police brutality and appropriate compensation for their families. 3. Setting up an independent body to oversee the investigation and prosecution of all reports of police misconduct within 10 years. 4. In line with the new Police Act, psychological evaluation and the training to be confirmed by an independent body of all disbanded SAS officers before they can be deployed. And finally, they ask for increased police salary so that they are adequately compensated for protecting the lives and property of Nigerians. Gentlemen, the NSAS campaign had barely begun last month when the Inspector General of Police announced on October 11 the immediate disbandment of SAS across the 36 state police commands and the federal capital territory. A day later, on October 12th, the President himself addressed the nation, stating, and I quote, "The disbandment of SAS is only the first step in our commitment to extensive police reforms in order to ensure that the primary duty of the police and other law enforcement agencies remains the protection of lives and livelihood. We will also ensure that all those responsible for misconduct or wrongful acts are brought to justice." End of quote. Following up quickly on that, the IGP on October 13, 2020, ordered all the wrong SAS personnel to report at the force headquarters for debriefing as well as psychological and medical evaluation. The officers were to undergo this process as a privilege to further training and reorientation before being redeployed into the mainstream of the police. The medical examination was to be conducted by the newly set up police counseling and support unit. On the same day, October 13, the Presidential Panel on the Reform of SAS formally accepted the 5-point demand of the NSAS protesters. 2 days later, on October 15, the National Economic Council directed the immediate establishment of state-based judicial panels of inquiry across the country to receive and investigate complaints of police brutality or related extrajudicial killings with a view to delivering justice for all victims dissolve SARS and other police units. The panel will include representatives of youth, students, and civil society organizations, and will be chaired by a respected retired state high court judge. The panels have 6 months to complete their assignments. Other decision of NEP on the demands of the NSAS protesters as follows. State governors and the FCT ministers are directed to take charge of interviews and contact with the protesters in their respective areas. State governors were directed to immediately establish state-based special security and human rights committees to be chaired by the governor in their states and to supervise the newly formed police tactical units and all other security agencies located in their states. This is to ensure the protection of citizens' human rights. Members of this committee will also include representatives of the youth and civil society organizations, as well as the head of the police tactical unit in each. The governors were also directed that the special committees on security and human rights should also set up a human rights public complaint team of between 2 and 3 persons to receive complaints on an ongoing basis. That team will be established by each governor. State governors were finally directed to immediately establish a victim support fund to enable the payment of monetary compensation to deserving victims. On the federal government's response to the NSAS demand about police salaries, the federal government directed the National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission to expedite action in finalizing a new salary structure of members of the Nigerian Police Force. Gentlemen, you can see from the above that the federal government was not only responsive, but was also very responsible in handling the demands of the NSA protesters. The 5 demands were met, some with an immediate pronouncement and others by starting the process of meeting them. Despite this, the protest continued and the demands kept expanding until the protest was hijacked, leading to unprecedented violence characterized by killings, maiming, arson, looting, etc. As I said earlier, what started as a peaceful protest against police brutality quickly degenerated into incredible violence, despite an immediate response to the demands by the government. Keen watchers of the developments cannot fail to notice the role played by the social media in the NSAS protest. As a veritable tool for mass mobilization, the organizers of the protest, of course, leveraged heavily on social media for that purpose. But on the other hand, the same social media was used to spread fake news and disinformation and catalyze the violence that is witnessed across the country. This development has reinforced the campaign against fake news and disinformation, which we launched in 2018. As a matter of fact, as far back as 2017, when we dedicated that year's National Council of Information Meeting to the issue of fake news and disinformation, we have been expressing concern in the dangers posed by irresponsible use of the new media platform. The concerns culminated in the launch of the national campaign, which I referred to earlier. The social media was used to guide persons and users to certain properties, both public and private. Pictures of persons, including some celebrities, who were supposedly killed at the Lekki toll gate by soldiers, were circulated widely, only for those persons who refute such claims or for the discerning to disprove such posts. As I have said many times, no responsible government will stand by and allow such abuse of social media to continue. The fake news, stroke disinformation purveyors have latched onto our concerns to allege that the federal government is planning to shut down the social media. No, we have no plans to shut down the social media. What we have always advocated and what we will do is to regulate the social media. And there is not a no in this. The issue of social media regulation is an ongoing debate, not just in Nigeria, but around the world, including in the United States of America, which is a flag flyer of constitutional democracy. Even the owners of the various social media platforms, including Facebook, are increasingly joining the call for content regulation. Some otherwise respected opinion leaders have been playing to the gallery on the issue of social media regulation by making inciting and incendiary statements, while some other individuals and groups have been threatening fire and brimstone over the issue of social media regulation. What they failed to understand is that the only reason we are even able to have this debate is because we have a country. If we allow the abuse of social media to precipitate uncontrolled interpersonal violence, the kind of which was narrowly averted during the NSAS crisis, no one will remember or be able to use Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or anything for whatever purpose. It is incumbent upon us all, therefore, to strike a balance between free speech, which this government is committed to holding, and fake news, disinformation, which it is determined to fight. While we are waiting the judicial panel in Lagos to unravel what transpired at the Lekki toll gate, what we can say, based on testimonies available in the public space, is that the world may have just witnessed, for the very first time ever, a massacre without bodies. Some have tagged it social media massacre. The testimony of Brigadier General Ahmed Ibrahim Taiwo, the Nigerian Army, for the panel, was compelling, and I'm sure many of you have listened to or watched it. The highlights for those who may not have watched the testimony as follows. 1. Soldiers were deployed all over Lagos, including Lekki toll gate, after the other security agencies were overwhelmed on October 20th, 2020, upon the request of the state government. 2. Before deployment, the soldiers were briefed on the rules of engagement, which they adhered to oath. 3. Soldiers at the Lekki toll gate fired blank ammunition into the air. 4. Blank ammunition cannot do any damage to the flesh, not to talk of killing anyone. 5. Firing live ammunition into the crowd, as some have alleged, would have led to mass killing, which never happened. Sadly, the purveyors of fake news and disinformation succeeded in deceiving the entire world that indeed there was mass killing in Lekki. Even when till date, not a single body has been produced, and not a single family or relative has come out to say that their child or ward was killed at Lekki. More surprising and irresponsible is the fact that some people have been calling for sanctions against Nigeria or against the Nigerian government officials on the basis of a hoax. This is one of the dangers of fake news and disinformation. Once fake news is out, nothing wrong with it, without looking back, even when the truth is eventually revealed. We therefore want to use this opportunity to ask those who have alleged massacre at the Lekki toll gate to go to the judicial panel to present their evidence or evidences to the world, or simply admit that they were goofed and they have received the whole lot. Like everyone else, I watched the CNN report yesterday. I must tell you that it reinforces the disinformation that is going around, and it is blatantly irresponsible and a poor piece of journalistic work by a reputable international news organization. CNN engaged in incredible sensationalism and did a good service to itself and journalism. In first instance, CNN, which touted its report as an exclusive investigative report, sadly relied on the same videos that have been circulating on social media without verification. This is very serious, and CNN should be sanctioned for that. CNN merely said the videos were obtained by CNN without saying where from and whether or not it authenticated them. Were CNN reporters and cameramen at the Lekki toll gate that evening? The answer is no. On what basis were they reporting? Relied on second or third-hand information and presenting it as CNN investigations? Why didn't the CNN balance its story by showing the compelling testimony of Brigadier General Taiwo before the judicial panel in Lagos? Is this one-sided reporting what is expected from an international media organization or any serious news organization? If CNN had done this investigation properly, it would have known how fake news and disinformation were trending during the NSAS crisis. The BBC even made a report on this and will recommend that report to the CNN. Talking about the BBC, the report with the BBC's pidgin service, Damilola Banjo, talking about the BBC, a reporter to the BBC's pidgin service, Jamiola Banjo, was at Lekki toll gate protest ground that night. She was quoted as saying, soldiers were indeed at the toll gate, but they shot sporadically into the air and not at the protesters. CNN, that was not at the scene, reported otherwise. In hearing its so-called investigative report, CNN conveniently forgot that on October 23, 2020, it tweeted from its verified Twitter handle that the military killed 38 people when it opened fire on peaceful protesters on Tuesday, October 20, 2020. Less than a month later, the same CNN, in what it called an exclusive report, based on a rehash of old unverified videos, was only able to confirm that one person died in the same incident. In its jaundice report, CNN was blind to the fact that 6 soldiers and 37 policemen were killed in unprovoked attacks. Obviously, CNN did not consider the security agents human enough. CNN, in its investigation, was blind to the CNN in its investigation was blind to the wanton destruction of property in Lagos and across the country. Also, CNN instead, it went to town with unverified social media footages in its desperation to prove that people were killed at the Lekki toll gate. Again, this is irresponsible journalism for CNN deserves to be sanctioned. We insist that the military did not shoot at protesters at the Lekki toll gate. They fired blank ammunition in the air. Again, anyone who knows anyone who was killed at the Lekki toll gate should head straight to the judicial panel with conclusive evidence of such. At this point, it is important to say that the federal government is very satisfied with the role played by the security agencies, especially the military and the police, all through the NSAS crisis. The security agents were professional and measured in their response. Even when their lives were at stake, they exercised uncommon restraint. Their professionalism and measured response saved many lives and property. For example, despite arresting hordes of looters during the violence in Lagos, the army treated them humanely and even cancelled them before handing them over to the police. The same cannot be said of those who unleashed mayhem on the security agents, killing and maiming them, sometimes in such a barbaric manner that is unprecedented in these parts. As I said earlier, 6 soldiers and 37 policemen were killed all over the country during the crisis. This is in addition to 196 policemen who were injured, 164 police vehicles that were destroyed, and 134 police stations that were razed. Also, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, the Nigerian Customs Service, and the Nigerian Immigration Service all lost infrastructure, equipment, and other valuables to attack by hoodlums during the crisis. 8 medium security custodial centers in 6 states, Edo, Lagos, Abia, Delta, Ondo, and Ebonyi, were attacked with 1,957 inmates set free and 31 staff injured. The federal government will therefore not accept a situation in which some so-called human rights bodies and journalist media organizations will continue to harass the security agencies over their rules during the crisis. Soldiers, policemen, and other security agents deserve commendation, not condemnation. Except, of course, their critics are saying they are not human beings and that their own rights do not matter. It is depressing and demoralizing to continue to vilify men and women in uniform, who themselves were victims of senseless violence unleashed by criminals. The role of human rights organizations, in particular, became suspect after they simply ignored the brutal killing and maiming of security agents during the crisis, as well as the ugly of violence that left 57 civilians dead, 269 private corporate facilities burnt, looted or vandalized, 243 government facilities burnt, vandalized, and 81 government warehouses looted, and instead continue to dwell on the bodiless and bloodless massacre at Lekki toll gate. They did not see anything wrong in the public and private properties that were burnt or looted. Neither did they see anything wrong in the fact that some of the businesses that were looted belonged to struggling young men and women. All they could see in their biased view of the whole situation was a hoax massacre. Still on the alleged Lekki toll gate massacre, one of the purveyors of fake news and disinformation during the NSAS crisis was one DJ Switch, real name Bianidu Catherine Udi, even though she claimed to have authentic evidence of mass killings. Surprisingly, instead of presenting whatever evidence she may have to the judicial panel, she chose to escape from the country under the pretext that her life was in danger. I ask, in danger from who? The military has come out to say they never sought after her. To the best of our knowledge, the police never declared her wanted. Her conduct does become suspect. Who is she fronting for? What is her real motive? Who are her sponsors? If she has any evidence of killings, why is she not presenting such evidence to the panel? If she was so desperate for asylum in any country, does she have to resort to blatant falsehood to tarnish the image of the country just to achieve her aim? In fullness of time, this lady is exposed for what she is. A fraud, and the fraud was illicit and destructive forces. At this juncture, we want to appeal to countries that have made very hasty judgment on the basis of fake news and disinformation emanating from the NSAS crisis to endeavor to seek and find it. In the aftermath of the NSAS crisis, the National Broadcasting Commission fined 3 broadcast stations for using unverified and dangerous information from social media. Commentators, many of whom do not even know why the NBC imposed the fines, rushed to allege an attempt to stifle free speech. unknown to them. The stations themselves know what they are doing. They know that we reach the broadcasting. Two of them have paid their fines in full, while the third has paid part of the fine with an appeal for time to pay the balance. The position of the federal government is that not only were the fines justified, the MPC was indeed very lenient. It is sad to see the traditional media throwing away the age-long gatekeeping process and instead rushing to rely on the free-wheeling social media, devoid of any gatekeeping for news. Sadly, there's an emerging trend today in which even the traditional media is freely using materials from social media without taking the pains to verify their authenticity. This is a dangerous trend that must be curbed in the interest of the media practitioner, themselves, the profession, and indeed the country. At the NBC wielded the big stick, some broadcast media organization would have faced more severe sanctions than mere fines. Recall that an otherwise reputable broadcast media organization had carried a fake report that the Ecumenical Center in Abuja had been set on fire when the violence that followed the protest. Though the same organization later retraced the story, the kind of reprisal attack this would have sparked is better imagined. Also, another reputable broadcast media organization featured a report that identified a maintenance worker atop a bank building overlooking the Lekki toll gate as a sniper, leading to attacks that destroyed many of the banks in the bank's branches. The organizations have not even been sanctioned for this terrible disinformation. Yet, rabble rousers have latched on to the fines to make all sorts of baseless accusations. In conclusion, gentlemen, let me return the following. A, the federal government was responsive and responsible in meeting the demands of the NSAS. B, the irresponsible use of social media by some unscrupulous persons aggravated the violence that erupted in the wake of the NSAS protests and helped to precipitate the violence. While the government has no plans to shut down the internet, it will work with stakeholders to regulate social media to curb abuse. C, those who use social media responsibly have nothing to fear. But those who abuse it have every reason to be worried, as no responsible government will stand by and allow a few unscrupulous elements to set the country ablaze. D, CNN grouped in a preconceived stance that the soldiers who were deployed to Lekki toll gate indeed shot at protesters, killing some of them. CNN relied heavily on unverified and possibly doctored videos, as well as information sourced from questionable sources to reach its conclusion. This should end CNN a serious sanction for irresponsible reporting. E, while judicial panel sitting in Lagos works to unravel what really transpired at and Lekki toll gate. Available evidence so far points to the world's first case of massacre without blood or bodies. F. The federal government commends the security agencies for acting professionally and showing utmost restraint all through the NSAS protest and ensuring and ensuing violence, an action that saves lives and properties. G. Human rights organizations should note that the security agents are also human beings and they have rights too. Even if the organizations, for whatever reasons, are reluctant to recognize the human rights of security agents, they should stop defining them as they are wanted to do. It's also disheartening that the human rights organizations have not seen anything wrong in the mindless violence that was perpetrated in the name of NSAS. H. DJ Switch should put Lekki falsehood and present her case with verifiable evidence to the judicial panel sitting in the house. No agency of government has declared her wanted. Hence, she has no reason fleeing or seeking asylum anywhere. I. The sanctions imposed on some broadcast media organizations by the National Broadcasting Commission are justified in view of the unprofessional acts of the organizations which were in clear breach of the broadcasting code as stated by the Commission. It's also imperative for the traditional media to authenticate information from the social media before pushing such to the public. Gentlemen, I thank you for your very kind attention. I will not take your questions, which must be strictly in issues I've addressed here. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen.